Many people think that Art Basel came, it changed our city, and it was a miracle. But it's really not a fairy tale. It was a tremendous amount of work. It was a tremendous amount of vision from the right people that made this happen. You have to understand our history, and it's not completely the most beautiful picture that you'd ever want to see. You see, Miami Beach started as a little strip of sand with mangroves and crocodiles and mosquitoes, and it had a beach. And a man by the name of Carl Fisher, he had a vision and a lot of money. And he took that money and he dredged our beach. And he said, boy, this is good. And millions of people after him have thought that Miami Beach is good as well, is a very nice place as well. But let me tell you a little secret. The beach that we have today, it's man-made. The beach that we had back then with Carl Fisher, it's washed into the ocean. And so have the one we put back, and we keep putting it back and putting it back. And I think this is an important part of our story because we're not afraid to manufacture what we need to make ourselves a success. And it was our construction of hotels and our construction of the condominiums that have followed it that causes our beach to erode, but it never stops us from putting it back. But yet, as human inventions go, we've been very, very successful. We've turned ourselves into, from a century of compressed but eventful history, from millionaires Capri to the global darling. And I like to tell people that we have risen from the ashes, like Lazarus, from near death. You see, Miami Beach has gone up and gone down and gone up and gone down. But every single time that we had a stumble in the road, we figure how to climb the mountain even higher. In the 1940s through the early 60s, we were the perfection of the modern resort and mass tourism. We were happy. Mass tourism back then were not as many people as it is today. But our hotels aged, our population aged, and our city began to deteriorate. Today, it is not just America's playground, but it's an international playground. It is a showcase of our architecture, old and new. It's an international shopping bazaar, a gormandizer's delight, and much to the amazement of natives, and I'm a native, it's a cultural standard bearer today. In my youth, we could barely spell the word culture. Nobody went to Miami Beach for culture. We had two kinds of people who came to Miami Beach. People who laid in the sun, and then people who slept all day and went out all night. That's what we had. And yet we figured out how to make ourselves into something else. But from the 1960s to today, it was not all pretty. We had lost our soul. We had become a place that all of my friends ran from. We couldn't get out of Miami and Miami Beach fast enough. I tell a story that my husband, when I was pregnant with my oldest child, went into what was then, we call it south of 5th today. It is among the most expensive parts of Miami Beach. And I asked him to show me where his life insurance policy was, for fear that he might not return, even though he went out with a police officer. He toured drug houses and places that were just downright dangerous. Today, by the way, where that drug house stands, you'd be lucky to buy an apartment for $4 million. So things had gotten really bad. Matter of fact, some of our city leaders thought we should just bulldoze Miami Beach and start over. We got really close. And this is where my political activism started. I borrowed a dress from my mother from the 1940s. I put it on and I marched up and down Ocean Drive trying to sell the wonders of Art Deco. So, there's a little similar thing between Art Deco and Art Basel, and it's the word art. So in preparing for this presentation, I talked to people that knew this story better than I did. And one was Bob Goodman, who's the local representative for Art Basel and has been with Art Basel, Miami Beach, since its inception. I said, Bob, give me a quote. And this is his quote to tell you how Art Basel changed our city. At its inception, people could not pronounce nor spell Art Basel. Now it's the Olympics of the art world. So obviously we did something right. So I'm going to take you through a timeline. And in the 1990s, a gentleman by the name of Norman Brayman, and Norman Brayman is a pillar of our business and cultural community. He went to Art Basel in Basel, Switzerland, which, by the way, has been there for a very long time. And he said, you should come to Miami Beach. The weather's good. We're the gateway to Latin America. And lo and behold, he convinces Lorenzo Rudolph, who was the director of Art Basel at the time, to come to Miami Beach, and he really likes our community. And I thank Lorenzo Rudolph, because without him, not sure what would have happened. So in 1999, Norman Brayman calls his good friend Bob Goodman and says, what do you think? You think we can make this happen? And they begin to work. So they meet with city officials, hoteliers, and in the middle of it all, Miami Beach, which is where Art Basel takes place, hires a new city manager, and Sam Keller takes Lorenzo Rudolph's place, so now we have a new director of Art Basel. In spite of this, Art Basel continues. So we scheduled our first show for December 2001. You just heard what happened in 2001. 9/11. So we were faced with what do we do? We made the very difficult decision to postpone that very first show. But in typical Miami Beach fashion, we still had a party. We had a white carpet rollout to remind everybody that next year something special was coming to Miami Beach. So I have, if I can figure out how to do this, I can explain Art Basel. But if I can get this video to work, I want you to see it. Because you cannot, with words, explain art. You have to experience. So let's see if I can give this a try.
Our city has found the best version of itself, which is a cultural and arts destination. And we couldn't do it without having a partner like Art Basel. So to Renee and Mark and Noah and all of the folks here from Art Basel, we couldn't be more pleased to have you here because what you have done for our city and our region is remarkable. You have redefined us. But we couldn't do it without people who are prepared to lead us in this way. Thank you so much.
All this has taken place because of the leadership of the city of Miami Beach.
We all have a lot to be proud of as a result of this, both as an organization and as a community here in Miami and South Florida, and in the Americas as a whole. So thanks to all of you for coming.
So the reason why I like to show that video was the city of Miami Beach produced that. We show that on our television channel to our residents all during Art Basel to remind them how special we are. And if you're a tourist, you probably see it too. But you see, we like to remind people what a wonderful thing comes to Miami Beach. And if some people don't enter the hall, they still get to see the art. There's a lot longer version of this that I couldn't show today, but even if you can't go inside the hall, the public access TV channels, everybody shows the art. So if you live in Miami, unless you want to ignore it, it's really hard to ignore Art Basel. But let's talk about the numbers. So our tourist tax from 1999, before Basel, through 2017, and I was able to get the numbers because our Art Basel occurs in December, is our tourist tax is up 133%. 133% more tourist dollars come in now. But the month of December is up 166%. And you see, there's no other explanation except for Art Basel. Let's face it, it's a month. It has 31 days. We can't manufacture more days. We can't change the number of hours of daylight. It's only because of Art Basel. That's the only explanation. A single event has changed our tourist landscape like no other event that we have. But it's not just Art Basel. In 2017, we had 23 auxiliary art fairs. Not all of them visual art either. So it's impossible to see it all. I have tried. You can't do it. By the end of Sunday, I can barely move, and I barely get to maybe 15 of these events. We even now have tents in the sand. So you enter a tent in the sand, and you're walking in the sand, seeing art in air-conditioned tents. We are using every inch of space in our community. It is from one end of the Miami area, which, by the way, is more than one city, all the way to the other. You're going to travel back and forth across our causeways, and I challenge anyone that wants to come try and see it all. It's just impossible. But what has it done for our community? We've added 2 major art museums. 2. I'm only talking 16 years. In 16 years, 2 art museums. Even more impressive to me are people like Norman Brayman, the Rubels, De La Cruz, Jorge Perez, Marty Margulies, all opened their personal galleries and let the public in during Art Basel. You have to reserve, but I have never known them to turn anyone down. We've also added a major science museum in this period, and one of our old art museums has doubled its exhibition space, and the best exhibition I saw this year at Basel occurred in that new space. It was an extraordinary set of sculptures of clowns, and it was just one of the best public exhibitions of art that I've seen in a very long time. And this is my favorite. There were 6 operating art galleries in Miami before Art Basel. 6. Today, there are over 120. Think about the change in our community. And that's in 16 years. I only can imagine what will be in 50. So, more impressive numbers. By the way, for those who know me, I'm an accountant by training. I like these numbers. There are more private planes that land in Miami for Art Basel than who land for the Super Bowl, which is the largest sporting event in the United States. And the economic impact is between $500 million and $1 billion. So, year 1, we debut after a small 9/11 delay. 160 galleries, 30,000 visitors. Impressive, right? Last year, 250 galleries, every continent, almost every country that has major art or even emerging art. 70,000 people passed through the Art Basel halls. I'm not counting the 23 auxiliary fairs. It's pretty good growth in 16 years. But, 70,000 people is a lot of people, but it's manageable people. And it's people here for art. We don't want 200,000 people coming through. These are the kinds of numbers we always intended. So I've mentioned Norman Brayman, and I can't mention him enough. This was his brainchild. He's the one who opens Art Basel every year for us. We call him the granddaddy of Miami Beach Art Basel. And I asked him for a quote, and I think it's very telling of him, the man, but of us, the community, when he said, it's a tribute to how a community and a private enterprise can work together to benefit all. And the key here is we work together. This wouldn't happen without the private enterprise, without the city, and frankly, without the tourists who come every year to buy the art. It's the pieces that fit together. This is a puzzle. It's not complete without every single piece. So let's talk about the pieces. I talked about the art collectors. We had Norman Brayman and other serious art collectors who lived in Miami. They went to Art Basel in Switzerland. They were looking to buy their art a little closer to home. The marketers, we had Bob Goodman. We had Sam Keller, who took over. They understood the business of art. I don't put it here, but I'm going to mention it. We also had pretty good location. We're the gateway to the Americas. That didn't hurt us one little bit. And then the city, its administration, and the community. And I put them together because if the city and the city's administration and the community don't work together, you can't market and you can't sell. So we had a brand new city manager. Fortunately for us, he had been a curator at a museum, part of the curating team. He wasn't the curator, but he ran the museum. The city and its officials, we were trying to change from sun dwellers and vampires, that's what we call the people who party all night and sleep all day. We were trying to change who we were. We said that if we could attract the right kind of tourists, people would view the city as we knew it. They would see its beauty, and its beauty not just on the beach or not just in the disco lights at night. And then I have to thank Alberto Albigoen, who is our editor, because he ran an above-the-fold story on Art Basel coming. He got the entire community excited. All of these people had great vision. All of them worked together to make that vision a reality. So, here's the play. The week after Thanksgiving in the United States is the worst tourism week of the year. Americans are full from their turkey dinner, and they're heading into Christmas, and they don't want to think about anything else. Art Basel said, we want to come in January when the weather is beautiful in Miami. That was not really popular with our tourism guys. And November and Decembers for art galleries are the doldrums. They just don't sell a lot of art. So we put it all in a bag, we shake it up, and what do we have today? It's now the best tourism week of the year, this sleepy week after Thanksgiving. It's a great month to buy art, and we are a success. But it sounds like a fairy tale, and I'm telling you it isn't. There's some challenges we had to overcome. I'm going to tell you what we did. And by the way, I don't want you to think we don't have challenges. It took me, and I live less than 3 miles from Art Basel, 40 minutes to get to the opening event this year. I just couldn't get there. I joked that next year I'm just going to ride my bicycle. It was a big, bold plan, and not everyone believed in it. We had plenty of naysayers. Someone I had known my whole life who was a champion in tourism, he didn't believe. They wanted guaranteed dates at Art Basel year after year after year. It's how their model works. Our convention booking policy did not allow them to have those dates because you had to show hotel nights in order to get a contract for dates. So we went to Art Basel in Switzerland and we audited the number of hotel rooms that they did there, and that's how we changed our booking policy so they could have this. It sounds like a detail, it's not. Without this, Art Basel wouldn't happen. They advertise, it's coming the first week of December every year, and they had to make sure that that happened. We had an existing art show called Art Miami. It was in January. They were so afraid we were going to dilute their market. Tourism folks said, you know what? This is a trade show. Guys are going to come across the causeway. They're going to be day trippers. They're not going to bring any real hotel nights. This is not going to work. This is a consumer show. It's not a convention. It's not a trade show. It's not what we want. And let's face it, culture and Miami were very rarely recognized in the same sentence. And then, of course, to make it worse, 9/11 occurred in the United States 3 months before our show was due to open. But in spite of that, we made it happen. How? We found a workaround the booking policy. The naysayers, we said we voted to do it, we did it together. It's one community. Whether you believed or not, you worked on the plan. Art Miami bought in, and it's more successful than ever now. It is way beyond what this event was originally. And the tourism folks are pretty happy too. I just told you December is the best month of the year. So a few things have changed over the years. In the beginning, it was more about our parties than the art, but plenty of art was sold that first year. Today, I can't begin to tell you how much art gets sold. And if you're lucky, you get in a preview or vernissage where the best collectors run around like cockroaches, trying to make sure that they snap up all the art they want before the public gets through the door. By the way, I found out this week from one of Spain's collectors that they reserve it in advance so they're not fighting. I didn't know that. We had 15,000 hotel rooms before Art Basel. Today, we have 20,000 hotel rooms. So we've actually expanded our tourism, but we've done it through renovated hotel rooms at higher prices to bring in different tourists. Our luxury real estate has exploded. We've grown up culturally, and this is really important to me. Artists used to leave our community, now they stay. So we love our parties. We get lots of press about our parties. And we have other signature events, food and wine, Swim Week. Swim Week occurs, by the way, in July when it's really hot. But they do something very smart. They put tents on the sand, and that's where the fashion shows happen. And it's a real winner. Okay, so what are our success? What does no one talk about? The secret is its commerce. You see, Art Basel's a commercial enterprise. It wants to sell art. It wants to rent out booths. It wants to make money. If you're going to bring a signature event to your community, it better have a commerce piece, or it's never going to work. You can use the startup money to make it start, but if it's going to stay, somebody has to have a reason to stay. All our other signature events, they make money too. Swim Week sells a lot of swimsuits, and our food and wine actually benefits our local tourism school, which is now #2 in the country. And part of that is the funds that it makes for our food and wine. So we took an inventory when we first started, and we figured out that we had 1 million square feet of exhibition space. As I stand here today, we are finishing a multi-million-dollar renovation to that space. If you're going to be successful, you can't let things be. You constantly have to innovate. We had local buy-in, and we still have local buy-in. Our city cleans up every year in anticipation for Art Basel, and our residents love it because they know at least once a year the sidewalks are fixed, the street is fixed, the landscaping's correct. They know that once a year we're going to look good. We do our spring cleaning in December. So what hasn't changed? We have great parties. Matter of fact, Art Basel Switzerland now has some parties too. They didn't used to have parties. They learned from us. Parties are pretty good. We proved that North America loves art, appreciates art. We have a little culture, maybe more than a little. The people watching is still as much fun as watching the art, and the quality remains high. The foreign press comes every year. 500 press members cover. We publish a newspaper every day about what's going on in art. So what did we do? We promoted what we had, our new museums, our Soundscape Park, the symphony, all the cultural assets. We promote them and we use them as part of Art Basel. As a matter of fact, we have an Art Basel zone where only the official Basel events can take place. And in that particular zone, which includes the symphony and some of the museums, not all of them, it has to be an official Art Basel event to take place in there, which forced those 23 auxiliary fairs to take place somewhere else to spread out our crowds. So the weather's good. I promised you in December the weather's good in Miami Beach and Miami. So we promote our outdoor venues, but they have become popular even in June and July. Just most of that occurs in the evening when the sun goes down. We get world-class media attention every year, and so we don't really have a slow season. We say Miami es caliente y más caliente. Here's a great picture of what our Symphony Park looks like and can be activated during Art Basel, and you don't have to pay 1 penny to see that. So don't be afraid to invest in the right fit. Messerschwag, who's the company that owns Art Basel, was not afraid to invest in us and not afraid to postpone when 9/11 came. They didn't make any money in the beginning, I can tell you that. I've seen those financials. Successful events breed new audiences. They don't dilute the old ones. I think that's really important. You do it right, the people you want, they come. Leadership goes a long way, and I list the names, and I could have listed a page of names. A signature event requires buy-in from everyone. Quality's number one. You never stop getting better, or else you go backwards. And the key is, it's business. So I'm going to try and do this one and kind of sum up. But art occurs everywhere, including this, which occurred on a street last year during Basel. So here's my takeaways, and they're pretty simple. The week following Thanksgiving was the worst week. Now it's the best. A signature event can transform a community. It changed the world's perception of Miami Beach, but more importantly, it changed our perception of ourselves. And it's created a whole new wave of art collectors. I can tell you that I have a lot more art hanging in my living room than I did 16 years ago, so thank you.